Some big black clouds in my town, and I can see out of my window. I'm all fucked up in the moment, spacing out into the sound. I fly alone, I get lost tonight. I'm calling for commander. Command me away. My heart is heavy, got me high on magic. I can't resist. I can't resist. I'm blind to see. Some big black clouds in my town, and I can see out of my window. I'm all fucked up in the moment, spacing out into the sound. I fly alone, I get lost tonight. I'm calling for commander. Command me away. My heart is heavy, got me high on magic. I can't resist. I can't resist. I'm blind to see.
Hello everyone, very good morning. I Sapankesha welcomes to you Quick Length 360, your own channel. Am I audible? Please comment yes in the box so I can verify. Sound? So once again, welcome to Quick Length 360. I am audible and very clear to you. I request first of all the participants who have not subscribed to our channel, then please subscribe by pressing the tab given below. Dear all, we have today a very renowned personality, Dr. Satyendra K. Rajput. If I start saying about Dr. Satyendra sir, then it will take a complete session. Dr. Satyendra K. Rajput, he is a director, Amity Institute of Indian System of Medicine, Amity University. He has in his credit various glorious achievements. He has published 5 books, 7 book chapters, 5 research reports, 3 consultancy projects, 8 patents to his credit, 7 awards. He has in guidance more than 11 PhD students, 15 MPharm students. He has given more than 34 invited talks at various national and international forum. He is having a 4 travel grant. He has attended more than 55 conferences, and he is in credit 48 publications. He has over more than 14 years of preclinical R&D experience in the area of small molecule drug discovery, herbal research, particularly involving in the target identification and validation of novel therapeutic targets. He has significantly contributed for the primary and secondary screening of NCEs for various therapeutic targets including enzymes, proteins, in areas of CNS, CVS, liver disease, diabetes, obesity, and other safety toxicological aspects. He is currently involved in DBT, Ayush, and various industry sponsored projects. He has laurel in his credit, various awards: the Research Excellence Award 2019, APJ Abdul Kalam Innovation Award 2019, IPGA Professional Excellence Award 2009, Lokman Award 2019 by Government of Uttar Pradesh. He has achieved a Youngest Director Innovator Award 2019 and Special Recognition Award by Shripad Naik, Honorable Minister of Ayush. So, it's give me an immense pleasure for introducing today's speaker, Dr. Satyendra K. Rajput sir. I request all the participants welcome Satyendra sir by pressing a tab given below, like button. Hello, good morning Satyendra sir. Yes sir, yours. Now I hand over session to you. Excuse me sir. Sir, your video is not visible. Okay.
It's available.
Yeah. Yeah. Presentation is not available.
Yeah.
The
I think
presentation is
presentation is
not
available now.
presentation is not displaying. Yeah, now it's displaying.
Still not
Displaying. Yes.
displaying now.
Playing. Yes, playing.
So दोस्तों, just take the example of thalidomide. You know that the thalidomide was the most wonderful drug to be utilized for the pregnant woman, but same has resulted into the one of the most you can say disaster of the mankind in the history in 1957. And during this process, FDA, under the leadership of Dr. Kelsey, he was the pharmacologist, they start reviewing the data. And once they reviewed the data, they found that the company has not provided sufficient evidences, and this caused the lot of discussion, and this brainstorming and discussion would lead one of the most important amendment in the FDA Act. That amendment is E. Power Harris in 1962. And dosto, just believe that this particular lady, Dr. Kelsey, has become the hero in the American as well the over the globe. So you can understand that what the importance of evidences is there. So this amendment focused on that for new drug application there is a need of comprehensive data. So data regarding the efficacy, safety must be provided, otherwise the approval will be rejected. During this also, the team has found that numerous drugs which are under the market, when they were reviewed, it is found that many drugs was not even effective, and many of the drugs giving the adverse effect. So this results the withdrawal of different drugs and then the rejections. So this suggests that what data may play the importance. Similarly, the Bristol Myers Squibb company found that during their post analysis, they found that hundred of compounds has been failed. And once they started the analyzing, they found that there is a need of comprehensive approach. That means in the same time we need to focus on the in vitro, in vivo and in silico modeling so that we can detect the things as early as possible. So as you know that more than 90% of success depends upon how we react to the research finding available with us. So if we talk about the data, so we have the lot of data available with us. Even regulators ask about the data, so companies provide. But whether we have all level expert who can analyze, who can understand the data, we say there is a little difficult. We can't involve each and every step the statisticians or biostatisticians. So what we must know, we must understand that we should have the basic knowledge. We must understand how things are interpreted. So for that purpose, we can understand very basic approach regarding the biostatistics. It is so simple that can be understood by easily, very easily. So if you see the definition, it is similar to the statistics. Only different is that we deals with the data which is originated from the biology, public health, the biomedical sciences, and the branches too, which are major important, is descriptive and inferential. You know the whole purpose and role of biostatistics is to generalize the finding, to drive the meaningful conclusions, so that error or the when we make the decisions, there are chances of errors bound to happen. But by utilizing the different tools and techniques, we can minimize or we can calculate the percentage of error. So that is the important things we must understand regarding the utilization of the biostatistic tools. So just to understand that, either we talk about the publication or either we talk about the research project, the biostatistician's rules comes at a later stage. We thought that once we develop the project or the research, we will gather the data, then we try to interact with the statisticians and will get the insights. So this is the same that doing the postmortem. And you know, what doing the postmortem is just to understand what is the cause of death. So similarly, if you utilize biostatisticians at the later stage, you just only can find the failure, reason of the failure of your experiment or research or in any process which is involved in the drug discovery. So I will take a little examples to explain you further. You know that we have two components. One is the population, another is samples. As you are aware that if we target any disease, even COVID-19, if we want to conduct any study, we have we the target population is in the lakhs, and today data suggests that we are crossing about 50 lakhs. But the research can be done on the small segment of population that is called sample. If we want to conclude from the sample to the general population, like we are doing for the plasma therapy or hydroxychloroquine, or there are other vaccines is coming in the picture, we are generalizing our finding for the all population who are affected with COVID-19. So we must understand that during this generalization decisions, there are bound to happen certain errors, and that errors need to be minimized and need to be calculated and need to be interpreted. So that can be done once you involve the concept of statistics just starting from your question itself. So if we take a formulation or we take a disease condition, it could be either COVID-19 or I've taken just for example epilepsy. So you know epilepsy, there is a spontaneous uncontrolled seizures. It occurs and we want to test whether formulation A will work or not. So for that purpose, we need to identify the target population where you will study, where population is available. So that you need to identify and define, but you can't do whole study on all the population. We need to define the sample. We have to design the study, and to identify the samples साइज को पता करने के लिए आपको चार तरीके, 4 things I will give you that you can easily identify what could be the sample size depending upon the your design of study, design of treatment. The sample size can be found out. That is very important. And after that, we can utilize the different tools and techniques how to this particular sample need to be selected. It could be the cluster sampling, it could be the systematic sampling, it could be the random sampling. There are a number of ways we can define our strategies to find out the sample for our study. तो सैंपल जो हमें लोग चाहिए, कैंडिडेट चाहिए या वॉलंटियर चाहिए हमारी स्टडी के लिए, वो डिपेंड करता है कि हमारी स्टडी का डिजाइन क्या है, और उसके हिसाब से हम डिसाइड करते हैं कि एक पर्टिकुलर स्टडी के लिए पर कम से कम कितने लोग चाहिए. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है और इट शुड बी डिफाइंड इन अर्लियर स्टेज. शुरू में ही हमें डिफाइन कर लेना चाहिए, अदरवाइज व्हाट विल हैपन दैट आवर स्टडी मे बी इनवैलिड. तो हमारी स्टडी इनवैलिड हो सकती है, एंड आफ्टर दैट वी कांट डू एनीथिंग either to repeat this particular or do the extension study. To reduce that possibilities or that things, we should connect or interact or should have the basic understanding of biostatistics tools. So we have to connect the observations. Suppose in this case, I am just saying that एक मेडिसिन है, आपने कोई मेडिसिन बनाया, वो हर्बल हो सकता है, सिंथेटिक हो सकता है, और उसको आप टेस्ट करना चाहते हैं, लोगों में देना चाहते हैं, तो आपको एक एंड पैरामीटर डिफाइन करना और बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. एंड पैरामीटर जो आपकी स्टडी के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. इफ यू हैव नॉट डिफाइन ए गुड एंड पैरामीटर, योर स्टडी में अगेन विल बी अफेक्टेड. तो जो पैरामीटर है विच इज required for your conclusions must be so much related to the study. It should not be the indirect parameter. It should be very direct parameter, and whatever the changes happening in the study. So these things usually done during the we do the validation, target validation or lead optimization of the. So after identification of the target and optimizing the lead, what we do the treatment, give the treatment, and then we see the what is happening, what are the observations. This is again very important once we get the data. So there could be some outliers, there could be some values which actually does not follows. That could be our various reasons. So we need to identify the factors. There could be confounding factors. So factors we need to understand. Otherwise, what will happen? Again, we will go for the misleading conclusions. So here we have to define the data. And nowadays, there are many software available as PSS Sigma plot. Present what software are software we can utilize for that? Even MATLAB is there, but that important thing is that what you are putting as the raw data. क्योंकि जो रिजल्ट आएगा वो आपके इनपुट पे ही आएगा. इनपुट क्या है उसी हिसाब से आपका रिजल्ट होगा. तो आपने जिस तरह से इनपुट दिया है उसी हिसाब से आपका रिजल्ट आएगा. और इस रिजल्ट्स लाने से पहले हमें समझने की कोशिश करना पड़ेगा कि हमारा रिजल्ट और ये डेटा क्या कहता है. नहीं तो आज के जमाने में हमारे पास इतना डेटा है, हमें जरूरत पड़ गई है बिग बिग डेटा एनालिटिक्स जो बहुत बड़े बड़े डेटा को हैंडल कर सकते. तो हम कलेक्शन जो हमारे पास डेटा आएगा उस डेटा को हम लोग डेटा माइनिंग करेंगे, उसका डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन समझने की कोशिश करेंगे और फिर उसको हम समराइज करने की कोशिश करेंगे कि ये डेटा क्या स्कोर इंडिकेट करता है. अब बात आती है कि हम किस तरह से डिसीजन लें कि जो फॉर्मुलेशन ए है उसने कुछ इस तरह का चेंज ला दिया है कि हम मान लें कि ये फॉर्मुलेशन जो है वो ट्रीटमेंट में एक बहुत अच्छा रोल प्ले करेगा. आज स्थिति में जैसे हम देख रहे हैं कोविड-19 में बहुत सारे रिसर्च ओवर द वर्ल्ड ग्लोब चल रहे हैं और उसमें देखा जा रहा है किस तरह की मेडिसिन कितना ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट रोल प्ले कर रही है. तो हमें रिस्क बेनिफिट रेशियो भी देखने हैं और हमें देखना है कि वन प्रिपरेशन दूसरे पे कितना अच्छा इफेक्ट ला रही है. तो उसको देखने के लिए हमें कंपेयर करना पड़ता है और एक डिसीजन लेना पड़ता है. और जब भी हम कोई डिसीजन लेते हैं उस डिसीजन में चांसेस ऑफ एरर्स हो जाता है या रह जाता है. उस चांसेस ऑफ एरर को हमें क्या करना पड़ता है, एस्टिमेट करना होता है कि विद दिस पर्टिकुलर चांस ऑफ एरर वी वांट टू कंक्लूड दैट. So that could be done by the hypothesis testing. So this is the very simple pathway and anyone can understand, and by the understanding that we can utilize our mind resources to get the solution which should be the validated, should not be questioned by anyone. So when the FDA reviewed the data, they found there are lacking in the evidences and they outrightly rejected. Similarly, we found during the research paper or during the project event, because of poor understanding, it leads to rejection of the project. Even sample size or even the strategy, if not able to explain to the reviewer, so they lead to the decision that the person may not have the good amount of knowledge. So I just want to explain that the biostatic understanding is not a very difficult challenge. It is a very simple concept which can be understood by any person. If we talk about the observation data, so statistic actually work on the quantitative data or qualitative data. The data should in form of the numbers. It processes the numbers. So numbers is processed. So we need to collect these particular numbers, which is we call the data, which is the plural number. So whenever we want to collect the data, we should have the multiple candidate volunteers. So from that, if we collect the data and that we can interpret. And we need to categorize based upon that nature of the data, whether it is nominal, ordinal, interval, or interval ratio. What kind of data is that? Sometimes we just want to work that suppose we recently studies done who is more affected in COVID-19, whether male or female. In this kind of there's a categorical data, nominal data. So we need to interpret it differently. So there are two different which can be utilized as per the data, its distribution. Again, distribution is very, very important. We must understand what kind of distribution is represented by our data. So, I will discuss distribution and how distribution plays a very important role in our decision making. So, what data and how data we derive? There are two sources. One is the primary data and the secondary data. Believe me that secondary data also plays a very significant role. There are number of meta-analysis, number of studies available. Even the E is equal to MC square, or even we think about the structure of DNA. This was based upon the secondary data. And even nowadays, repurposing of medicine is done based upon the information available or information emerging out of the treatment or out of the trials which are going out of in the globe in the various countries. Primary data in the data in which you involve, you yourself design the experiment and you collect the data. So you are more sure the data which is the primary data collected by you yourself. Now, the data can be collected by different ways. There could be surveys, there you can perform the experiment. So during surveys, if we do, survey can be done number of ways. People used to come up with the questionnaires and they ask the question and they drive the conclusion. तो दोस्तों बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट हो जाता है कि जो भी हम लोग क्वेश्चनेयर देते हैं लोगों को, that questionnaire itself should have the followed the three principles: normalcy, reliability, and validity. I mean, they should be predicting the accuracy. So बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट हो जाता है जो क्वेश्चनेयर है वो वैलिड होना चाहिए. मोस्टली हम लोग WHO या डिफरेंट एसोसिएशन हैं उनके द्वारा वैलिड क्वेश्चनेयर को यूज करते हैं और समटाइम्स कुछ क्वेश्चनेयर हम खुद अपने जानकारी जिस तरह की जानकारी वी आर इंटरेस्टेड टू वी कैन प्रिपेयर बट दैट शुड बी रिलायबल एंड वैलिड. So there are things we can do. Suppose we are collecting such kind of data, you just see the screen. Now this data, if you report anybody, right, they can't interpret, they can't drive any conclusion out of this particular study. Here is the height in the inches of 400 female clinic patients, right? So there is nothing important in this data until and unless we make them in a meaningful way. If we convert in a way that you can easily understand. So nowadays, you know that different way of representation is coming and people are representing so that people can easily understand. The one and basic thing is the most data is given in form of the tables. Now you have collected a data and you want to present it. People do not know how many group or classes can be produced. So there are principles, there are theories, and there is a formula available with us that we can find out the what will be the class interval. Just following this formula, put the values, and you can easily find out that how many class intervals should be in your data so that you can present your data in a global or international standard established. Now comes to the represented in the graphical form. You know that our brain process images. So data which is presented in form of images remain with us and we can have good thought process on that. So हमें जो डेटा है हमारा उसको दूसरा तरीका है उनको हिस्टोग्राम में उसको लाइन डायग्राम बहुत सारे स्कैटर डायग्राम बॉक्स और नंबर ऑफ ways we can present our data so that should be presented. So these are number of ways of data you can represent. Again, by representing or by putting the data into tables does not serve any purpose until and unless we have summarized our data. Now, when we summarize our data, mostly we use the averages, and averages are not valid each and every cases. We must understand what are the ways through which we can represent our data. और हमारे डेटा को अच्छी तरह से प्रेजेंट करने के लिए हमें समझने की जरूरत है कि जो समरी स्टैटिस्टिक उसी की बात करता है कि डेटा को हम इस फॉर्म में समराइज करें कि वो उस डेटा को रिप्रेजेंट कर सके, बता सके। अब ये अगर आप कार्टून देखेंगे, ये कार्टून बताने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि अगर हमें सिर्फ मोस्टली हम लोग क्या करते हैं, हम एवरेज वैल्यू को देते हैं और बाकी वैल्यू रेंज और उस चीजों को जाते हैं। अगर हम रेंज नहीं देते हैं या फिर हम जस्ट को कई बार अवॉइड करने की कोशिश करते हैं, जिससे कि लोगों को एक्चुअल पता ना चले कि हमारा डेटा किस और क्या इंडिकेट कर देता है, लोग ना खाली एवरेज को ही देते हैं। एक बहुत छोटी सी कहानी है, जब कहते हैं कि जब एवरेज जस्ट आया ही था लोगों को अंडरस्टैंडिंग में, तो उस टाइम पे लोग नदी क्रॉस कर रहे हैं और दूसरी तरफ जाते हैं, उनको एवरेज का नॉलेज है, एवरेज पता है कि इसकी डेप्थ जो है 4 मीटर है, 4 फुट है या 3 फुट है, डिपेंडिंग अपॉन दी हाइट। सपोज हम लोग 3 फीट ले लेते हैं इसकी डेप्थ, और जब हम उसमें क्रॉस करते हैं, एक फैमिली क्रॉस कर रही थी और वो फैमिली क्रॉस करके जब दूसरी साइड पहुंचती है तो उसमें कुछ मेंबर कम हो जाते हैं। रीजन इज दैट दे डू नॉट नो अबाउट दी डीपेस्ट पॉइंट, मीन्स कितनी गहराई, अधिक से अधिक कितनी गहराई है। आजकल आप देख रहे होंगे कहीं भी रिवर साइड या फिर स्विमिंग पूल कहीं भी होगा, उसमें ये डीपेस्ट पॉइंट जरूर लिखा जाता है। तो एक छोटे सा उन्होंने श्लोक के फॉर्म में दिया कि अरवा ज्यो का त्यों कुनवा डूबा क्यों। अरवा मीन्स एवरेज, वही वही का वही है। उन्होंने फैमिली का एवरेज निकाला और देखा कि एवरेज तो इतना ही आ रहा, 5 फीट आ रहा है, बट 4 फीट होने पे हमारे यहाँ तो हाइट 5 फीट है और इसका डेप्थ तो 4 फीट है, तो हमारी फैमिली के लोग डूब क्यों गए, क्योंकि उन्हें रेंज का आइडिया नहीं था। Because of that. So whenever we are present our data, उसको हम सेंट्रल टेंडेंसी और मेजर्स ऑफ डिस्पर्शन को यूज करके ही हमेशा ही करना चाहिए। एटलीस्ट मिनिमम रेंज तो देना ही चाहिए, और एवरेज जनरलाइज नहीं हो सकता। एवरेज को हम लोग कई बार एवरेज मोड के फॉर्म में यूज होता है और कई बार मीडियन के फॉर्म में यूज होता है। और गुड एवरेज के दीज आर सम कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स दैट नीड टू बी फॉलोड। So calculations are very easy to understand. Average, mean, median, mode. You can easily identify it and calculate. And on that, where we need to go for the median, where we need to go for the mode, or where you have to find out the average. Even you mean, there are geometric mean, harmonic mean, and arithmetic mean. So based upon our observation, we need to decide which is the proper method for representing our average or mean. So the formula is very simple and very easily mean, median, mode can be calculated. So that can be easily calculated for the data which is in dispersion form as well. So once you identify and measure the mean or central value, then again it is important, as I mentioned, that हमें पता करना चाहिए उसके अंदर स्प्रेड क्या है, वेरिएशन क्या है, डेविएशन क्या है। Here our role is very important. This is the main key factor which tells about that what we need to do. If there is no variation, if there is no deviation, if there is no dispersion, then that thing becomes fact. So there is no need of doing the statistic if there is no difference you are observing. So if there is a difference, then we need to identify the difference is coming because of certain things you have done, certain intervention has been done, certain medicine, कुछ medicine दिया है या कुछ आप उसको estimate करना चाहते हैं, देखना चाहते हैं, कुछ intervention करना चाहते हैं। या फिर दूसरा हो सकता है भाई के ब्लिंकिंग रेट, हर एक पर्सन का ब्लिंकिंग रेट सेम नहीं होता, because we have the our biological differences. There is a that enzyme, lot of in structural, in there is difference in the body, the functionality is also different, so we can't be the same, even twins are not exactly the same. So we do have the variation, this person is there, so considering that variation we have to interpret. So suppose we see the COVID-19 situation and you want to test that whether this drug is effective or not. So two roles will be played important. One is the treatment you are offering, another is the individual itself or himself. Many people are recovering by themselves only. That's why now the The another thing is coming like immunity passport. The person who have a strong immunity can travel. So you can understand that the immunity, personal immunity, also again play an important role. So the recovery is coming up because of intervention or because of person himself. That need to be understand. That should be reduced, or we have to remove that particular factor. Then only we can drive the conclusion. So the variation, if you connect the variation, I just make a flow chart, and by this only variation, as I mentioned that variation is key. If you know only about the variation, you can understand biostatics very easily. So this is the variance of three factors. One is the xi. Xi is the observation. Another is the x bar. X bar is the mean, group mean, or n minus one is called degree of freedom. Right. This is the sample size you are using. How many people are there? Three factors that are very important. So here you can represent sigma, or you can represent with the S. If we are targeting or using the sample, so here we use S. And if we are using the population itself, we can use sigma. So that's not issue. We can utilize this particular formula. Three factor important: xi, x bar, and n. And based upon that, we can find out which test need to be apply, what kind of statistical analysis need to be done. You need to do parametric, non-parametric, what kind of things you will do. That entirely depend upon this particular thing. See, if we talk about xi only, xi is the observation. What is the nature of observation? Observation is the normally distributed or not normally distributed. It decides that which test need to be applied, whether the test will be the parametric or non-parametric. X bar, it tells about the group mean. Group mean, it tells about the how many means are there. If suppose group mean is two, more than two, or three, depending upon that how many means you are driving out of the observation, you can think about that whether you will go for the um, t test, ANOVA, chi-square, z-test. So again, and then there is important thing is the sample size. Now, sample size, it determines how many people are there. And for determining the sample size, as I earlier mentioned, that it is a very important factor which is determined by we make alpha, type 1 error, type 2 error that will come in the picture. So I just want to connect that through the variance. We can connect each and every parameter, whether it is chi-square, ANOVA, kurtosis, skewness, correlation, regression, t-test, or z-test. If you see about the distribution, if the distribution is well set, normal distribution, we can follow the parametric test. And if there is a skewness, or there is a kurtosis, we can't follow the parametric test. So that need to be identified as soon as we can do that. Otherwise, our results will be the misleading. And any person, if detected, and that whatever the decision you are making, that will be that will not be the valid. So this is the variance. Again, I mentioned that this is the moment two. Moment two is to the variance. This is moment three, and this is moment four. The moment four is nothing but derived from this particular variance. The formula for variance is very simple. This take the power two, and the moment three, moment four take power four. So for things we can drive easily whether our data have the skewness or kurtosis. If we identify the skewness or kurtosis there, then we need to identify this is coming because of any value which is not in a which is outlier. You can say that sometimes what happens if you are giving the treatment, maybe the treatment is not properly taken by the candidate, or not any reason, so that results may come. So what we need to understand that then we have to remove this particular outlier. So once you remove that outlier, you have to identify the very simple process there. Even if utilizing the statistical software, you can do it. Or by manually, you can even do it. This is the basic understanding. If you find the outlier, now you can remove it, or you can have it. If you will remove it, then if sample size is sufficient, then there is no problem. You can remove it, but you have to remove whole candidate from the study. This is not that one parameter or one observation you just remove. Another thing is very important. If you are not able to remove, if you remove, then your study become invalid. If you not remove, then you have the outlier in that, and this will be the misrepresentation in that. So you have to then transform your research, transform in the rank order, and then do further non-parametric test. Then only you can drive some conclusion which will be applicable to the. As you are aware that this is the probability which connect both the probability, we through the probability concept we generate the tables, which are these tables are utilized for the inference we derive from our samples. Because I already mentioned that we generalize findings from the sample. So we do some errors, then errors need to be calculated or need to be mentioned. Now coming to the inferential statistics, because we need to drive the conclusion. Ultimate of doing any study is to drive the conclusion. And for driving the conclusions, we need to understand the point uncertainty point. So here, confidence interval is there, and that can be calculated very easily. And this is the very basic parameter that you find everywhere, because sometimes range is not working, so we depend on the confidence interval. If we want to see whether person is having diabetic or non-diabetic, the sugar level, the range is given in form of confidence interval. What is the lowest limit and highest limit in that? So formula is mean plus minus standard error. Z, we say mean plus minus Z is the critical value. So we can easily drive that. And as correlation, people want to correlate whether two factors are associated or not. If they are associated, then they can do certain prediction. So nowadays in COVID-19 also, the people are finding different factors, they are associated. Even the blood clotting is also found to be associated with COVID-19. And this will result in the another form of treatment which will be available soon. So we need to understand whether two things are correlated or not. To finding that, again we use the variance concept, and we find the variance together and divided by a variance individually. So by using this particular formula, we will easily identify the R is the correlation coefficient. And once we get the R, we can just square it. That is called coefficient of determination, by which we identify that how much one factor is determined the another factor. So if we say that one factor is affecting the another factor by some percentage, that also tells about the indeterminate factor. That means other factors are contributing the whatever the percentage remain. So we need to understand this is not the one factor which is only in cases of the perfect correlation. That means R is one. We can say one is directly related to another. So based upon that, if you understand this particular concept, we can go for the prediction. And prediction, we get the regression line, and regression line is like y is equal to mx plus c, whatever we studied. And in this particular thing, we need to see the line which have minimum deviation from the points. So that can be done through the equation I've given, or through the you can generate this equation by the formula or through the computer itself. So by this way, what we can do the prediction. We can predict easily how things will improve. If we understand this concept, by this concept, we can understand what factors, how much role will play, how many days it will be taken to the recovery. So this thing for and the regression analysis tells about the prediction. There are sometimes chances that many factors play important role. Now coming to the decision making, when we make the decision, definitely there is a chance of error. If we see these particular type 1 and 2 error, right? So for the understanding that to remain in your brain, I just put the false positive result like the person, the male candidate, if there's observation like you are the pregnant, sure you are making a false positive. And then the false negative, you see the pregnancy is there and you are not considering it, and it is false negative. So this we need to understand. Rejecting the true is the type 1 error, not rejecting the false is again the type 2 error. So this particular error happens when we drive the conclusion from a small number of people. So these errors must be reduced because we can't remove the error. If we remove one, another will automatically be fixed. So we try to balance it. First, type 1 error we fix, and type 2 error can be reduced through the increasing the sample size. So this way, what we do, drive our conclusions, and we make the decisions whether we have to, what kind of decision we need to make. So suppose as I mentioned that three factors play an important role: xi, and n. If xi tells about that distribution is normal, x bar tells about the mean 2, and n tells about sample size less than 30, you will follow the t-test. And very simple t-test, difference in mean divided by standard error. Only the formula is that difference in mean divided by standard error. Very simple formula is there, and by that way you can conclude whether two groups are different or not. Similarly, sometimes we do the studies in which the before and after factor is there. Means you want to see that in a particular population before exposure and after exposure. You want to formalize this. The t-test we formula use the formula mean divided standard error. Here we'll take the mean of differences. Just a small twist is there. Mean of difference divided by standard error, because here the parameter is different. What difference occurs in one individual before and after, that is the parameter to be studied. Chi-square test is most utilized test nowadays because most of the people are doing the survey-based study. In this particular, you again see the formula is very matching with the variance. Here the observed and expected values are there. Observed, expected, both are the numbers. So we can do things. One is the category, data informed category, and the observation from the numbers, count. So we have that kind of data, we go for the chi-square test. When mean is a mean, or you can say group numbers are more than that, we follow the ANOVA test. And this again simple ANOVA test. Only thing is that the group numbers are more than 2. And again, we utilize the concept of variance only. In this particular thing, what we calculate variance due to treatment, or divided by, we take the ratio variance due to treatment or variance due to people or individuals. Just as I mentioned earlier, that the recovery of my depend on two things: what treatment I am taking, another is what kind of immunity, what kind of uh, my response is. So two factors is there. So I need to understand that if the medicine is making a difference, so the individual effect should be nulled down, or we have to normalize it. So that way you find out the ratio and find the calculate the F value. Just take the example, you can easily understand how F value can be calculated and how we can interpret it. So these are the simple tests that depends upon the um, through the variance we can well connect all the parameters. And you know that nowadays number of people playing a very major role. There are people who are even non-medical background. They are also coming into the picture, and sometimes they need to make the claim. So they need to take the advice of the statistician, understanding the basic knowledge. So again, I have given the non-parametric as compared to parametric test, because in this particular thing, only difference is the distribution. If the distribution, our data does not follow any distribution, that is the distribution theory, or it have the skewness or kurtosis, we will go for the test that is the non-parametric test. So these are the concepts I want to tell you, that they are not very difficult. They are so simple. Just you need to follow them, and you can make the statistic very interesting. Statistic is as simple doing any exercise or yoga. So I will conclude here. You can question, and you have any queries regarding this, you are most welcome. Yes, Shafan.
So thank you, Satyendra sir, for very nice and informative session. Sir, presentation is very good, simple, and very effective. So session is open for question and answer. Sir, there are
some of the questions are floating.
I have selected three
I have
questions.
selected three questions.
The first question
The first question
is from the Mr.
is
Akash
from the
Dey.
Mr. Akash Day.
Sir, he
Okay.
want to ask
Sir, he want to ask
how to calculate
how to calculate p-value
from a left or right
from a
skew
left or right
probability
skew
distribution
probability
curve.
distribution curve.
Okay. How to calculate the p-value?
From a left or right
From a
skew
You
left
know
or
the
probability
right skew
distribution curve.
probability distribution curve.
p-values, as you understand that I mentioned about the type 1 error. So p-value mostly is automatically calculated. It comes through the software, or even you do not depend upon the p-value from the software itself.
Yes.
Yes.
Sir,
So what
Sir,
we
so
used to do,
on the
yes, Shapan, yes, Shapan.
so sir, on the basis of
so
this
sir, on the basis
same
of the
your answer,
same your answer,
Professor Dr. Sachin
Professor
Bhosle
Dr. Sachin Bhosle
has asked one query:
has asked one query:
any software to
any
calculate this
software to
value which
calculate
are
this
free
value
for the
which are
student?
free for the student?
Yeah, software, you can even utilize the Excel. Now Excel have given lot of inbuilt functions that you can utilize for calculating the p-value. That can be done through the softwares. Even we used to, the companies give the trial version itself. So 1 month at least you can utilize the trial version. So definitely you want to gain the knowledge, and you want to make the decisions. So we need to follow, we need to subscribe the software, because it requires a lot of efforts they have developed. And if you know that basic concept, even manually you can do the statistical analysis. You can drive your conclusion manually. There is no difficulty in that particular. We do not calculate the p-value. We calculate the critical value. Like in the t-test, I mentioned that you want to compare two formulation or two things. In this, we need to calculate the t-value only. And for t-value, I have just mentioned formula is very simple. Difference in mean divided by standard error. So you will get the value, you will get the two means. Just find out the two means and difference it, then divide by standard error. You will get one value that we say it is the critical value, we say it is the p-value. Now what we need to do, just get the table, t-table, and compare whether your value is high or low. If it is a low, then it comes into the umbrella. We can't reject it. We will say that both groups are similar. If your value calculated comes more than that, this is the means you can out of the umbrella. I just mentioned one umbrella. So if it is less inside the umbrella, so you are not rejecting. You are saying both the groups are the similar. Now, if we say that your value is higher, more than t value which you are able to get from the table, so you have to reject it, and you have to say the difference lies, actually difference lies between the group. The difference is not by chance. So this, without any even finding the software, that can be utilized manually very easily. And if not, then you can utilize the Excel software. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
one last
Sir,
question
one
from
last
Dr.
question from
Subhash.
Dr. Subhash.
He is asking that
He is
how
asking
many
that
minimum
how
sample to
many
take
minimum sample to take
from the population
from the population
and how to decide that.
and how to decide that.
Yes, that is the most important thing, and that we must understand, because sample size one of the critical factors, and mostly our studies or mostly our finding become invalid when we do not consider about the sample size. So sample size depends on your the type of study you are doing. As I mentioned, just we can take example of the we can take the example of t-test. As you can understand very well, here we have only two factors. We want to see that difference between two factors is there or not. So what roles will be played by different factors? So one is we will have the mean, group mean is there, another group mean is there. Another important thing I mentioned that is the measures of dispersion. That tells about the what is the spread in the data. One group is spread, another group is spread. if we talk about in a more simple language, that uh, if we take one, we will take a general population. Means I will say that you belong to support Maharashtra, right?
Yes.
I just mentioned that
Yes.
Maharashtra hemoglobin level is 14. Just example only.
Hmm.
So take the 14. Now, another thing is that now you want to state that I made a statement whether right or wrong. You have to take decision and you have to find out whether the decision is with the statistic right or wrong. So what you will do, take 10, 15 now. Now again, the question is here, how many people need to be taken? So we need to understand here two things is very important. One, I mentioned that four factor for sample size calculation. One is the difference in mean you want to estimate. Number one. Number two, dispersion, spread. Third is the type 1 error, alpha. Fourth is the power of the test. Now I will explain each in that particular thing. तो अल्फा आई मेंशन दैट रिजेक्टिंग द ट्रू, ये हम लोग ना एरर पहले से आइडेंटिफाई कर लेते हैं कि हम जो हमारा कंक्लूजन होगा कितना हम लोग उसमें अनसर्टेनिटी को एक्सेप्ट कर सकते हैं. मोस्टली हम लोग 95% कॉन्फिडेंस इंटरवल या फिर हम 95% आपका जो अल्फा वैल्यू 0.05 लेके चलते हैं. इससे ज्यादा आता है फिर हम उस रिजल्ट को उसको हम कंक्लूजन में नहीं लेते हैं या उसको हम बोलते हैं कि देयर आर more data is required or there is no difference as per data, whatever is there, right? So alpha, then type 2 error is there, is not rejecting the false. हम लोग यही दो गलतियां करते हैं ना, इधर भी हम रिजेक्ट नहीं करते हैं, ट्रू को रिजेक्ट कर देते हैं, you don't have cancer. COVID-19 is current situation. If we say the person who have the COVID-19, if we say okay, you do not have the COVID-19, your symptoms is just the flu. So we making this particular error. And by making this error, this is a severe error, right? You can influence a lot many people, and you can see what could be the situation. So what we need to understand that particular thing, alpha rejecting the true. Second error is not rejecting the false. Not rejecting the false man means that person was having the common flu, and you are saying that you might have the COVID. Go and test. You will visit the hospital, and then you can see the psyche may affected, and even he can get the infection later on in the hospital or somewhere itself. So you make two error. One is rejecting the true, another is not rejecting the false. Right? Alpha and beta. That alpha we used to fix. Even beta we used to fix beta. So power is we use 0.9 or 0.8. So two things you know. One is alpha 0.05 you will put. Another you know the power of your test. 0.9 you can put, 0.8 can you put. Below than that, if you go, then your test will be unreliable or not powerful. Third thing I mentioned that in two groups, you must understand that what could be the minimum difference. आपको आइडिया होना चाहिए कि दोनों के बीच मिनिमम डिफरेंस क्या होगा, जिसपे आप ये कहना चाहोगे कि आपके ट्रीटमेंट ने कुछ इन्फ्लुएंस किया है. When you will decide that your treatment doing some influence, right? Third thing is that population spread क्या है, उनका जो है स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन क्या है. अब यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन आता है, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. बहुत सारा लोग यही बात करेंगे जब हम स्टडी इनिशिएट कर रहे हैं, हाउ टू नो अबाउट द पॉपुलेशन, कि वो किस तरह से स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन होगा. तो इसमें हम लोग क्या करते हैं, या तो हम लिटरेचर रिव्यू के थ्रू उस तरह की पॉपुलेशन का डेटा देखते हैं और स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन से ड्राइव कर लेते हैं. नहीं तो व्हाट वील डू द पायलट स्टडी. 10 से 12 लोगों में स्टडी करके हम देख लेते हैं इसके अंदर स्प्रेड क्या है, स्टैंडर्ड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन क्या है, then we take. And sample size can be easily calculated if you use the software Sigma plot or SPSS. What is software is there, if you just go and calculate the sample size, put these parameters for t-test, ANOVA or guys, or whatever the test you are applying in correlation. You just put these things, you can easily identify what is the samples, and we must understand we should take all the consideration. Even we increase the factor we include, and always increase the sample size from the calculated one. Yes.
Hello.
And Chapan, you can take the queries further, and we can send you the answer. That's not issue. There could be more queries. You just share with me. I will share you, and you can
Def,
share. the audience.
Definitely, sir.
Definitely, sir.
If anyone is having more query, you can text me. All of you have number.
All of you have number, and I will forward the query to this.
Sir, sound is not coming.
So sound is not coming.
If more questions are there, you can ask if time is there, or we can discuss through different modes. Yes, Shaban.
No, sir.
No,
Praising
sir.
your
All are
session.
praising your session.
Very informative session.
Very informative
Thank you and
session.
all that.
Thank you and all that.
Explanation is very
Explanation.
good. Say any
Say any
message you like to give?
message you like to give.
I will just mention that स्टैटिस्टिक इससे डरने की जरूरत नहीं है, बहुत सिंपल है. अगर हम आप कहेंगे तो मैं मेरा बुक है, मैंने एक चैप्टर लिखा एनिमल स्क्रीनिंग, तो उससे आप पढ़ सकते हो. अदरवाइज आई कैन प्रोवाइड वेरी सिंपल. इवन सपन आई जस्ट मेड ए वेबसाइट, थोड़ा सा फनी है, lazyisworld.com. उस पर हम ये चीजें जो है आपको सिंपल वे में समझाने की कोशिश करेंगे, प्यार से आराम से कैसे चीजों को समझ सकते हैं. किसी का कोई भी डिफिकल्ट इश्यूज प्रॉब्लम, इवन यू नो दैट आई एम टेकिंग केयर ऑफ इंडियन सिस्टम मेडिसिन currently as a director, so even personal, even professional, किसी तरह का इशू है, you can share with us and we try to find the strategy how you can combat that. Not only educational, but any kind sort of issues can be sorted out.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Many congratulations for your book and website.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Bye bye, sir. So guys, that's it for today from Quicklearn 360. We'll continue more and more such informative session for you in coming future too. Guys, in COVID-19, we have to transform our lifestyle. So, transforming the research and innovation with the help of biostatistics. In COVID-19, stay at home and stay safe. Thank you very much. Now for the certificate, we will ask you to fill up the registration form and send the screenshot of subscribing Quicklearn 360 channel at 966 closed. So no query for that. Thank you very much. Stay tuned to Quicklearn 360. Thank you very much. Once again.
Some big black clouds in my town, and I can see out of my window. I'm all fucked up in the moment, spacing out into the sound. I fly alone, I get lost tonight. I'm calling for commander. Command me, my heart is heavy, got me high on magic I can't resist. Some big black clouds in my town, and I can see out of my window. I'm all fucked up in the moment, spacing out into the zone. I fly alone, I get lost tonight. I'm calling for commander. Command me, navigate me high on magic. I can't resist. I can't resist. I'm blinded. See. Some big black clouds in my town, and I can see out of my window. I'm all fucked up in the moment, spacing out into the zone. I fly alone, I get lost tonight. I'm calling for commander. Command me, my heart is heavy, got me high on magic. I can't resist. I can't resist. I'm blinded. See. Some big